this is a nice opportunity for me to kind of tell my story and let other people know that, yeah, we're all in the same boat.
All week, we've been looking at the impossible dream as our I-Team's deeper look into Connecticut's housing crisis. Thousands in Connecticut say they just cannot find affordable places to live. Does the state have solutions? Here's Chief Investigative Reporter Sam Smink.
We've been comparing the housing crisis to a game of Monopoly with winners and losers. So how does the state change the game and get everyone a place on the board?
And that closet is actually full of milk crates of CDs that can't fit out here. I have a little bit of a music problem.
That music problem wasn't really a problem when Stephen Bennett had his 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's a little tighter squeeze in his 2-bedroom apartment these days.
It's frustrating because at this point in my life, I didn't think I would have to be starting over.
The 50-year-old got sick in 2020 and 2 years later sold his home to keep his business afloat. He sold the home for $250,000. It's worth $343,000 today.
I mean, I loved my home. I put some stuff into it, but it's not a $300,000-something home now. They haven't done anything to it since they bought it. I look at it, I don't think I'm ever going to own a home again. It's just, it's not realistic.
There are many just like Bennett who feel home ownership and even a reasonable rent price is out of reach in Connecticut. While national economics do factor in, state lawmakers say we need to start creating solutions on the local level.
Do you think Connecticut has ignored this problem for too long?
I think part of it is that there have not been as many folks with the will to tackle it.
Multiple housing advocates have told us one of the major barriers to building affordable housing is local zoning restrictions and suggest the state needs to make it easier for people to develop housing.
A lot of it does have to do with zoning and having conversations with towns and saying, you know, there is a way to keep control over what you want to do, but also you have to do something. And
Democrat Representative Eleni Kavros-DeGraw is co-chair of the state's Planning and Development Committee, which oversees zoning regulations. She says she has some ideas on how to do that she'll introduce in the 2025 legislative session.
I have an idea for what's called a housing growth menu, and basically we're trying to identify, you know, what a good incentive for this would be.
In Connecticut, all you need to be approved to build a single-family home in 91% of the state is to apply for a building permit. Kavros-DeGraw's housing growth menu would offer multiple multifamily housing options, like duplexes or triplexes, where towns would decide what they want to build for a not yet identified incentive.
But to give towns, again, that ability and flexibility to provide what they need in that town.
She says there should also be conversations about simplifying the permit process to build multifamily housing.
I know that the developers and builders and even the towns would be grateful to have a less onerous process.
Do I think that we need to be better incentivizing the development of housing? Absolutely.
Republican Representative Joseph Zullo is a ranking member of the Planning and Development Committee with Representative Kavros-DeGraw. He's also on the Housing Committee.
I think there's a diversity of ways that we can address this shortage.
He says he firmly believes cities and towns should have control and doesn't think just revising state zoning regulations will help. He says the state needs to change the way it approaches housing.
Quite frankly, we need to start taking money that often goes to large developers, putting it in the hands of small businesses, entrepreneurs. Minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, people who are going to take that money and they're not necessarily going to build a 60-unit complex, but they're going to make a 2-family, convert something, create more opportunity.
He also feels the state needs to start paying more attention to renters and their landlords not holding up their end of the bargain.
We have a number of housing units across the state that are offline, because of code violations or other reasons. That's housing stock that we can utilize right now with very few remedies without taxing a lot of resources. We need to dig into that. And one of the things that I've tried to do is pass legislation that would allow towns, not require, but it would allow them to give a $500 per year tax abatement for up to 5 years for first-time home buyers purchasing a home with a CHAFA loan, a first-time home buyer loan.
Representative Zullo's tax credit legislation was something Representative Kavros-DeGraw supported. It passed the House unanimously twice, but was tabled by the Senate 2 years in a row.
If we can create more units where people can own them, we're going to be a better state.
House Majority Leader Jason Rojas says all of these ideas are good, but that the state needs to be quicker in finding solutions.
The state should be more assertive in using the authority and power we have to move this issue, yes.
He's helped create the Majority Leaders Roundtable on affordable housing, which has come up with dozens of recommendations.
And there's lots of smaller ideas that we have, additional resources to our councils of government to provide technical assistance to smaller towns and cities. How do we identify more dollars for sewer and water infrastructure that will allow for higher density developments to take place? Because that's an obstacle as well.
Stephen Bennett says just figure it out.
I'm paying over $200 a month more for my rent than I was for my mortgage. And it just doesn't make any sense. I'd love to see it happen where, home ownership is an American dream for a lot of people.
In a perfect world, you'd be able to play Monopoly in your own affordable living room. You can watch our entire Impossible Dream series, Connecticut's Housing Crisis, on our website, WFSB.com. For the I-Team, Sam Smink, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.